So ever since I was a kid, I've watched all these videos of people showing off their setups, just wishing one day I could do the same. Now, I don't personally think my setup is perfect by any means, and there are plenty of things I want to change in the near future, but I would say it's pretty dang close. The vision I had for this space was an area where I was able to stay productive and switch to gaming in just a couple of seconds, and honestly, I think I nailed it. I've managed to utilize every single inch of the space to truly turn this into the ultimate hybrid setup, so without further ado, here is my official 2025 hybrid desk setup. Kicking things off with the piece that holds every setup together, the desk. I wanted a standing desk since I knew I was going to be at my desk for long periods of time, and sitting at my desk for 3 to 4 hours was just crazy to me. The desk trim was from Wano, and I got it in black since of course it matched the color palette I was going for in my setup. There are 3 different height presets I could choose from, but I just personally used the first 2 between my standing and sitting presets. The frame is somewhat sturdy, however when I am writing it does shake, which can get super annoying and is probably why I plan on changing this frame sometime soon. Moving on to the desktop, it's a 48 by 30 inch top from FlexiSpot. Now, before I had this desktop, I had another one which originally came with the Wano desk frame, but it was too small for me to comfortably do anything, which is why I switched it out for this one. The material feels super sturdy and the surface area is great, allowing me to house stuff like my MacBook and PC while still having enough room to rest my arms on the desk. Now, what's a great setup without a great chair, which also brings us to the sponsor of today's video, FlexiSpot. A little backtrack, I've had this chair for about 5 years now and it served me great. However, 3 of those years were without a headrest, and honestly, wear and tear was just all over this thing. So when FlexiSpot reached out to me asking if I wanted to try their new OC1 ergonomic office chair, it felt like the perfect opportunity to 1, replace my old chair, and 2, give an honest review on their new office chair. Constructing the chair was quite simple, but honestly, I did wish the graphics were a bit more detailed in the instructions, but mainly everything was kind of plug and play, so it was all pretty straightforward. I've been using this chair for about a week now, and honestly, comparing it from my old chair to this one is like night and day. At first, it definitely took some getting used to since this chair is a bit smaller than my previous one, and I'm a decently sized guy. However, I'm glad that it is smaller since it takes up a lot less space. The cushion is super comfortable, and the ergonomic design of the chair helps my back and posture, especially at times when I feel like I'm slouching. The armrest can also flip up, allowing you to save more space if you choose to do so, and finally having a headrest is such a game changer for my neck. Moving on to the left side of my desk, and one of the more recent add-ons to the entire setup, my Ikea drawers. With my previous setup, storage became a huge issue with all the gear I have, so when I was browsing for storage solutions, I came upon the Ikea drawers.
All right, so moving down to the first drawer here, I got my daily driver stuff, basically my G502 mouse when I'm gaming, highlighters, my journal, another journal right here, screen protector, camera lens cap, couple of pens, ruler, just a couple of everyday carry stuff. Moving down to the second drawer, I just got charger for my Mac, charger for my mouse and my keyboard, my SSD. Pretty unorganized and messy because I haven't gotten the chance to clean any of this stuff. But third drawer, the main camera gear compartment. Got my main lens here, just my monitor, a couple camera handles, my tripod. These are filters. I think this is it. My ND filter and my polarizer. A couple more tripod stuff, a couple batteries back there. Down to the last 2, this is my laptop case. This is my Beats case. I never use that. Extra tech cleaner thing, another tripod. Last drawer here, we got a couple more. These wires, these were like split wires from if I can focus, building my PC. So this is basically what I use to build the PC and stuff like that. It's just like all the little screw heads and stuff like that. My binder for school, composition notebooks, and a couple other wires.
These Ikea drawers really surprised me on how much gear I could store in them, and if you're struggling to find ways to store your gear, I would definitely recommend these drawers. Now, do be careful when assembling it since the wood is prone to marks and scratches, and take it from me who wasn't careful, and there are a couple of marks and scratches on mine. Okay, so since I do record the majority of my footage at my desk, I wanted to keep the lighting consistent so all my videos would look the same. I decided to put a C-stand behind the Ikea drawers and mount the softbox that I got off of Amazon a while back as the main light for my desk. I actually changed the light bulb inside the softbox with a Govee one, allowing me to have a lot more control over my lighting and controlling everything through my phone. Although having a monitor light helps a lot, having a main key light at my desk helps light up the entire space a lot better. Moving to the right, I have all my water cord just to help make the setup feel a lot less bland and have a bit more life to it. Up top, I mounted these motivational wall posters that I felt like was a good fit aesthetic-wise for the entire setup, but also a nice reminder whenever I'm walking into my room. Below that, I've installed some Govee wall lights to help with lighting and my 2025 prayer board. This is my first year creating a prayer board, and honestly, I'm so glad that I did. I think just being able to look up and see all the dreams and aspirations I have for this year helps me visualize my goals a lot better. Next to that is my pegboard / charging station, and I got these pegboards off of Amazon, and honestly, man, never again. The material just feels super cheap, but hey, I mean, it's able to hold everything together pretty well, but there's just some things that you can't go cheaper on expecting the same quality. This is where I'll charge my camera batteries and headphones so they're ready whenever I need them, and I was also planning on charging my monitor batteries here, but I'm pretty sure the power bank is broken, so I kind of just left it there. I've also attached an LED clock, a bucket to store a couple of items, and an outlet extender to power the entire thing. Everything's attached with these Velcro adhesives, and I try to make the cables a little bit less noticeable by hiding them behind the pegboard, which I would say I didn't do that great of a job. Okay, so moving on to the actual desk itself, starting off with my monitor layout. They're both from Acer, with my main display being a 27-inch 4K monitor with a 180Hz refresh rate. To the left of that is my secondary monitor, which I've set up vertically, and this monitor is a 24-inch 1080p monitor with a 144Hz refresh rate. Honestly, jumping between 144Hz and 180Hz is such a big difference, especially since I've been using my 144Hz monitor as the main display for a couple of years now until I decided to upgrade to a new one. The color accuracy is also a lot better on my 27-inch monitor, which is also why it's my main display since I do color grade and edit photos. Along with that, I've also attached a Quintus light bar to help with eye strain late at night, but to also help light up my space a lot better. Both of my monitors are attached to this Vivo monitor arm, and there were a couple of layouts I could have went with when it came to my monitors, but it's safe to say that after using the vertical layout, it's helped with my productivity a lot more. I'll usually have my Spotify or any research tabs open, and since it is vertically mounted, it makes reading articles so much easier. Connected to these two monitors and the workhorse behind everything creative is my 14-inch M3 MacBook Pro. I got mine in space black since, let's be honest, it's the best colorway that Apple has ever made, and it has 18 gigs of unified memory with 512 gigs of storage. I didn't choose to upgrade my storage since one, Apple is taxing when it comes to upgrades on anything, and two, I was planning on using an external SSD anyways, so it didn't really matter. My M3 Pro has been nothing but efficient and reliable for the 7 months I've used it, and it's a beast when it comes to photo and video editing. Not to mention the battery life on it is amazing, and I typically don't have to charge it until the next day unless I'm doing something with a heavy workload. Connected to my MacBook is an HDMI cable that's running into my main display with a USB-C and HDMI cable running to my secondary display. I've also been getting a lot of questions on how I'm able to switch between my Mac and PC, which I'll get to here in a bit. Now, speaking of my PC, the CPU is a Ryzen 7800X3D paired with a 4070 Super, 32 gigs of DDR5 RAM, and 2 terabytes of storage. This is the first PC I've ever built, and honestly, I think it turned out pretty good. I wanted to separate what I did creatively with gaming, so this PC is strictly for gaming and nothing else. It definitely helps separating the two, since the majority of the time when I am gaming, it's to wind down and take my mind off of anything creative. Specs wise, I'm able to run all my favorite games at well over 200 FPS, but do keep in mind that I do play at 1080p. Now, how do I switch between my MacBook and PC whenever I want to game? Well, it's actually a lot less complicated than you might think. I have one HDMI and one DisplayPort cable that's running from my GPU, and whenever I like to game, I'll just shut down my MacBook and turn on my PC. I'm also able to switch between the two displays, which makes it super easy to change between the two. Moving on to peripherals, on the desk itself, I have a 31.5 by 15.7 inch mouse pad that I got off of Amazon for about 15 bucks. It's waterproof and non-slip, so I don't have to worry about it moving everywhere whenever I'm using it. The quality feels super premium, and whenever I'm gliding my mouse across it, it feels super smooth, though it definitely took some getting used to coming from a cloth mouse pad. For the mouse itself, whenever I'm using my MacBook, I'll use this simple wireless mouse by Infinix. The battery life is fantastic, and I don't have to charge this mouse for weeks on end. Now, if I was using my gaming PC, my mouse of choice is the Logitech G502. I also have the wireless model, and I personally think this this is the best gaming mouse on the market. Now, I might be a little biased since this is the only mouse I've used, but even when I was testing out other mices in stores, nothing could really compare to the G502. The battery is great and the customizability options are phenomenal with the G-Hub software. Moving on to the keyboard, I'm rocking the Ula F75 wireless keyboard. I've only used 100% keyboards before this one, and honestly, I don't think I could ever go back to 100%. I wanted more space on my desk, and if you couldn't tell by all the wireless peripherals, I'm not the biggest fan of wired gear. Now, of course, there's the fair exception when the wires and cables do look good, but for the most part, I'm not the biggest fan of all the clutter that comes with wired peripherals. The switches in this keyboard are Reaper switches, and just for you guys, here's a sound test. So that basically wraps up my entire hybrid desk setup. I definitely didn't acquire all this stuff overnight, and it's taken years for me to reach this point, but I hope you were able to implement some of my stuff into your setup or grab a little bit of inspiration. Everything I've shown off in this video will all be linked down below just in case you guys were interested in checking any of it out. I appreciate you guys for tuning in and stay blessed.